Hi there. This is Dr. Phyllis Edwards coming to you from episode 18 of The Widow Speaks. We've been doing a lot of work over the past 18 sessions, wanting to get the word out to you, wanting you to know that there's so many things out here that you can use, and that maybe you can just get a little tidbit for yourself and then go and explore. Today we have a wonderful, wonderful guest. She's coming to us all the way from Georgia. Her name is Jennifer Ross, and I'm welcoming Jennifer.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So Jennifer, I met when I was the school superintendent of Decatur City, and that was back in 2003 till I think 2015 or something. It was a long run. It was a wonderful school system, and I was always very impressed at the beginning, even when I started to work as a school superintendent, with how closely we worked with the police department. And in my opinion, they were always very forward thinking. And Jennifer was right at the apex of that. And I worked with her lots and lots of times, and also with her colleagues. And when I met her, she was a detective.
Yeah.
I think, how long had you been with them all together? I know you're still with them in a way.
In a way.
Yeah.
I started in 1996, and you and I met in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I had served in the 911 center, patrol, business district officer, where I was walking around the downtown area. And then I had moved into the investigations division and was a detective when you and I first met.
Right.
And then I retired in 2022 as a captain over some of those divisions that I had worked in throughout the years. But I still work in a part-time seasonal capacity for the department, managing their school crossing guard program.
It is a big deal. Boy, I'll tell you what, the school crossing guards, people love their school crossing guards. I mean, I'd go by and I'd stop and I'd be waving to them, and they were waving everybody. But I was going to say that I think that you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
You personally, but also the whole department, knowing your people, knowing your community, reaching out, and you did a lot of the work that you should do with community policing. And so I think that's just not something that everybody does. And this is this podcast was started for widows because, when my husband passed, I just recognized that there were so many things that I didn't know. Just like nobody prepares you for this. And a lot of people don't go out and check it out and find out, where can I find this? Where can I find that? And so we've been covering a lot of topics, and that's why I asked you to come today, because I was thinking about the safety factor and the piece that we often, just as individuals, just don't think about, don't pay attention to. But before we get to that, I was hoping that you would give us a little bit about yourself, your bio, if you will. You just told us all about your
That was my
occupation, but
professional bio.
this is also about grief, loss, trauma. And as I remember, you had quite your share as a young girl.
I did.
If you want to talk a little bit about it.
That's fine. I have learned over time that everybody has their own traumas in different ways, and
True.
But everybody, when they're going through them, oftentimes feels like they're
alone.
They're the only ones.
That's right.
And that even happens with children, and then they just sit with it.
That's right.
For long periods of time, and then it affects them well into adulthood.
That's right.
I grew up basically in Georgia, in the suburbs of Atlanta. My father was formerly a Atlanta police officer and then a business owner, and he and my mother ran multiple businesses and were very successful. Both of them had come from absolutely nothing. Neither one of them had graduated high school. Neither one of them had gone to college. It was very important to them for their kids to have opportunities that they didn't have, because they had to go to work. And while they weren't technically educated, they were both very smart and appreciated reading and education. So there was that factor in that part of my childhood that was, very wonderful, and that was instilled with, work hard,
work ethic.
Great work ethic. That was important. And even though my parents had money, and you still worked and you still did things, and their money wasn't automatically your money. And so my brother and I were taught from an early age. But then the flip side to that was my mom, back then, they called it manic depression. Now it's bipolar.
Bipolar.
And I didn't, when you're little,
You don't recognize it.
I just know mommy's not doing well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she would have these debilitating episodes that would go on for multiple days when I was young. And it really only happened, 2 or 3 times a year. And my dad managed it to the best of his ability. I would until my father could get home, and
Right.
if he was still at work. And that when you grow up in that, you don't know that there's something wrong.
No, you don't.
With that.
You think it's kind of
when
normal.
it's going
Yeah.
on, this is how it is.
That's right.
And as we got older and we needed her less and less, it became worse. And it was like a lot of disorders, medical mental health issues. She would self-medicate with alcohol, and then later on it became pain pills and things like that. The older I got, and my brother, and the more independent we became, the worse it got for her.
It got.
Along with aging. I think
Yeah.
aging also has
Mm-hmm.
untreated issues.
I would agree.
Right. And whether they're medical or mental health.
Or just
Realization.
only
Only get worse when they're not being managed.
True.
And so there was a period of time where I was just sick of it and very, very angry at having to step in the role of being an adult.
A parent,
basically. And take care of things.
Yeah.
And then I'm dealing with that. And one day, and then the next day, my mom's telling me, that's too low cut. Go change your shirt on my way to school. And it's very hard to, how are you telling me
Delineate
what to do
when you're not really present.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the flip, because she was very present a lot about homework and doing stuff around the house and cooking meals and providing. And my mother would go without to give to me and my brother.
Yeah.
My dad would hand her money to go buy some clothes.
And your dad was devoted to her.
Very, very much so. And he's like, you need new underwear and bras. And my mom would go buy me and my brother clothes. And it was just so. Sometimes when you hear people talk about dealing with a parent that had an addiction or a mental health issue, there's so many variables in that. And, some kids were just left on their own. I wasn't.
Right.
But I was on a roller coaster that I didn't ask to be on. And you're on. You're on it. And she later as it went on, I learned how to just deal with it. And I stopped putting up with it. And I stopped tiptoeing around it. And they came from a generation where you don't
get help.
You don't get help.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember signs and symptoms from my brother at a young age that he was having some of the same types of issues.
Was he younger than you?
He was younger than me,
Okay.
and he was her precious baby boy. And there were noticeable differences in how we were raised. The rules and regulations and the structure that I grew up under, my brother didn't, because when he didn't want to do what he was supposed to do, my dad would try to step in to enforce.
Right.
My mom would jump in front of my brother. And I'm not talking about anything.
No.
I'm talking about homework and doing stuff around the house and cleaning up your room, just basic things that you need to do. And so I was a little bitter about that. And me and my brother were super close when we were young, and then the teen years are the teen years. And there was a lot of bitterness because I'm watching him not have to do anything.
Right.
So then he got a little bit older and got out of the house, and I started to recognize that he was having the same issues as my mom. And my mom had a lot of, when I was younger, when she would reach a breaking point and she would threaten suicide, and she had attempted several times in what I call a test way.
Right, to get help.
But then she wouldn't take the help. It was she wanted my dad. She wanted my dad to stop the world. And deal with that. And then my brother started threatening in his early 20s and did a couple of, test runs. And at that point he had moved, away from my parents and was living closer to me, and called me, and he had taken a bunch of pills with alcohol. And I called the police and had him involuntarily Baker acted. I had him committed. And that was the first time in my family, I did something that put it out in the open
Right.
because I saw the need. And at that point, I had been a police officer
Right.
for a while, and I knew that there were options
Yeah.
and there was help.
I
And
was going to think that would help you.
yes,
Right?
very much so.
Yeah.
And I could tell that my dad was really, really, really unhappy because he had gone a very long time keeping everything
Hold together.
whole and together in
Yeah.
family business.
And being so close to him, that must have been hard on you.
We just had a look
Yeah. Yeah.
when they came up to visit my brother, and I knew my dad was devastated by all of it, but he didn't say anything
Yeah.
to me because I gave him the look of,
I know.
don't you dare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've dealt with
Yeah.
this with her for so long.
Right.
And you protected
Right.
it. And
Right.
I get it, but it didn't do anybody any.
Where did you get your resilience from?
I honestly, when you're thinking full circle.
Yeah, because you should think about that.
When you're thinking full circle, I honestly think that I was very resilient going into adulthood and good at my job because I was sort of trained to be at an early age. So I took something that could have been very negative and debilitating
For you.
for me and used it. I always joked, I use my superpowers for good and not evil.
Yeah.
When you're 6 and 7 years old,
Yeah.
and you are so used to having to read the room and the emotions and the spikes and the tension so that you can try to mitigate as much as you can. It actually makes you really good at conflict and dealing with other people's
It does.
conflict.
And it does train you.
It trains you
It
up.
does train you.
And it has byproducts. I have
Yeah.
very little tolerance for conflict in my personal life
Right.
because I did it when I was forced into it as a
Mm-hmm.
child. I did it as my job. That was my professional job, was to help people when they couldn't handle the situation
Mm-hmm.
themselves. And so in my personal life, I have, very little tolerance for a lot of tension and
Yeah.
drama and conflict. And that's something I've had to work on
To save
over
yourself.
the years. Right. Because
Really.
there's always
Yeah.
people.
There are always
And
offshoots
there's
of that.
there's always going to be that. But I think
You are resilient. There's no doubt about it. And, if we could really find the exact formula and bottle it, I mean, we would all be millionaires. I can relate to what you're saying. As a young girl, I was the youngest, and my brother and father were always at odds, and my dad was an alcoholic. But I didn't know that at that time. I didn't understand what was going on. But there was always tension and always issue in the house, And you have to be the one, if you're not that one that's getting into trouble, you have to be the one that's always doing everything. So I can relate to and when you're young like that, that's how you grow up.
right. And
You grow up watching it, reading
right.
the room.
You don't know what
no.
you're doing. You don't know what's going on.
Trying to help, But I think that, so you found the Decatur PD, and I think you found a home.
I did. I was lucky in the fact that my father had been an officer, and when I told him I told them I was going to be a police officer when I was very young, and they thought it was adorable. And then when I got out of high school, went into college, and decided to study criminal justice and law, and my dad was like, "Oh, I wish you would do something where you would make more money, and I wish that."
Oh, he's worried about you too.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
My dad was never so concerned about me not being able to take care of myself because of the two kids that he had. And
He knew you would.
And I know that he didn't understand it, but it was what it was. He had a daughter that would get back up and dust herself off in a physical or a mental fight and keep
However
going.
she had to do it.
And my brother was more emotional and artistic. And, my dad could tell me, "Oh, you can't do that." And I would, as he would say, bust hell wide open to prove him wrong. And if he told my brother, "Oh, you can't do that,"
Then he wouldn't do it.
he would go curl into a ball and cry because that had we were two very different people.
Very different.
So
yes.
People have always asked me, probably because I'm a woman, "Oh,
Yeah.
what did your dad think when you became an officer? What did he say?" He said, "I wish you would do something where you made more money and we didn't pay for all this education for you to make such little money."
Yeah.
He said he didn't want me to work for Atlanta because that's where he worked, and he wanted me to work somewhere else. And he said that when I started to feel like I was losing my compassion for people, to get out. because a lot of cops
That
don't.
can happen.
It happens all the time.
Yeah,
And
sure.
but then you're looking down the barrel of retirement, and then you just become bitter and
You're stuck.
you're stuck.
You got to stay here.
And right. And he was just like, when you feel it go, leave, because that's what
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah.
And that was really his only
Advice.
advice. And he said that this is not what I want for you, because not because of danger, but because of, I think you're going to end up being miserable. I had a very that's wrong part of me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was never going to be one to be okay with, just go with the masses. I was always going to speak up and speak out. And he knew that about me. And he's like, you're going to have
your trials.
you're going to potentially have a rough road, because you won't sit down
in any
and
organization.
let it go. Right.
Yeah. Any structure.
And he said, but if you don't do this now, you're going to get older, and you're going to always wonder and look back. And I'd much rather you do it now.
Try it.
And then if you hate it, or if you feel it changing you and you leave, then you can do something else.
But I think it was a perfect fit. I mean, you
you
really seem to shine
almost
and blossom.
30 years.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think
So we talk about widows. We talk about loss. Loss can be in a lot of different ways. I mean, I find myself at this point, so you're a widow, but you've also lost, I'm talking about me now, lost your mother, lost your father, lost your brother, which was your immediate family. And I'm grateful that I have my two girls, certainly. But as a person growing up, those were the people that were around me. And I'm sure that there's some times like that when you think, gosh, here I am, I'm here. I'm the one carrying the mantle, if you will.
Definitely. But I felt that way even before all of my family members are gone now, because I lost my brother first to suicide when he was 26 years old.
That's unbelievable.
And I wasn't surprised, but you're still
But
devastated.
Still.
And there was a part of me, because of my job, and I dealt with those calls. And there was a part of me that was like, why couldn't I make this not happen? And it's because I'm a very realistic person at the end of the day. Maybe that's one of the reasons I'm so resilient.
Yeah.
You can't stop somebody from doing what they've made up their mind that they want to do.
Yeah.
And my brother just continuously said, I'm hurting. I'm tired of hurting. I'm tired of hurting. And it echoed what I would hear my mom say when I was young. And when you're little, hurt means boo-boo.
Yeah.
It means a physical hurt. And that's what I didn't understand, because I didn't experience just constant internal hurt.
Pain.
And actually, I was wrong. My dad passed of cancer first, early at 64.
And that must have set your mom.
I think that set my brother back, because, see, my brother and my dad did not have a great relationship. Me and my mother did not have a great relationship. And my brother had just really established a relationship for the first time with my dad. Going into his mid-20s. And then at 64, my dad became...
That was young.
Yes.
That was
my
young.
dad became sick.
Yeah.
And he didn't make it. And at that point, my brother had been running my dad's business with him.
Yeah.
And I think that was the blow, because my brother had finally kind of
found his footing.
He had found his footing. He had kind of crawled up.
Yeah.
And then he had this relationship with my dad that was not, antagonistic. And he was also seeing my mom Mom had always been the protector.
Yeah, kind of come into focus.
Come into focus, exactly. And then my dad's gone. And now my brother is having to deal with my mom, and I'm trying to intercept as much as I can. But I lost my dad when I was 28, and that was not on my radar.
That's young.
Oh, my goodness. Not even, you don't even think about losing your parents.
No. Not until you're, I don't know, 40, 50, 45.
So that was very, very young. I was the closest to my dad as anybody. And I did not have time or space in that moment to be devastated, because my mom...
Your mom needed you.
Well, she just went off
the rails.
Off the rails. And my brother and I were trying to manage that and the family business. Yeah. And I was still a police officer at that point.
And you have to be very careful with your professional life, because, this is personal, but it's still...
Exactly.
It still comes all over you. No,
she absolutely, positively.
She was probably so into the deals deal that she was, trying to struggle herself. And, that I think people do self-medicate and they try to figure out how they can get away from this pain
Oh,
because it's
absolutely.
just, it's constant, and, I guess I'm hearing from you too, though, that you had a great deal of loss, but couldn't get really dealt with.
I couldn't deal with
You
it
couldn't go
then.
to anybody or anything like that, or you could have, but you couldn't because you didn't have the time.
Right. I was trying to keep
Yeah.
my mom. My mom lost the man she had been with
Yeah.
for over like 36 years.
Sure.
And
And relied on so
yeah,
heavily.
good or bad.
Yeah.
And sometimes their relationship drove me crazy because their love language was sometimes just the back and forth,
Yeah.
arguing and bickering and stuff. But they couldn't stand to be away from
But
each
they
other.
loved each
They
other.
loved each other.
Yeah.
They couldn't stand to be away from each other.
Right. And then he's gone.
And he's gone. And I thought it was young for me to lose my mom at for me to lose my dad at 28.
I would agree.
And my mom loses my dad when she's in her 50s. I'm in my 50s now.
Yeah.
And I think in my mind back then, my parents were old.
Of
And
course.
so when
You're old at 30 when
right,
you're a kid.
but when you reach that age,
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
It's not old.
wow.
That's pretty young.
Yeah, it's actually pretty young.
To be a widow,
Yeah.
the average is 59,
So
which is very young.
Mhm.
I mean,
was 53.
that's very young.
Yes. So
So you had a lot of that, and so what you do, this is what I found, and what you do is for every single thing that comes up, and there's always something that comes up, it's just another trauma, so you just push it down. Push it down. I got to go to work. I've got to deal with this. Up, something else has happened over here. Push it down, push it down. And then eventually
it's going to come out somewhere.
yeah, it's going to come out.
It's going to come out somewhere.
Something else will come that will just, and all of a sudden everything's like bubbling up, and you are the one that's resilient. You are the one that's always tried to keep it together. But then it just
It's
somehow
exhausting.
it's like, okay, is this the last brick?
Yeah, it's
you know?
exhausting.
So I think that I think when you do have a job like you had, that's kind of really all all encompassing, and you're out in the community and you're talking to people and you're doing all that, that kind of provides you that other sense of family outside of the thing that you're dealing with. So in a lot of ways, that's a saving.
Very much.
I feel like that's a saving
much so.
factor. And then just in the job you have a certain persona that you have to present. And, like being a school superintendent, I couldn't go in and not be able to deal with what I had to deal with. So whatever it is that's happened, family-wise.
Yeah, you have to kind of check it at the door
Gotta
so
go
that
back
you
down.
can function.
gotta
And
go back
to a
down.
certain extent, those were the days that like I liked the fact I got to go to work because it got me away.
gave your brain-
It gave me a break from
Right, the traumas.
dealing with that.
Yeah.
And I had no problem all day long, 12-hour shifts, going and helping other people manage
Yeah.
their problems. Because
That actually helps you.
yeah, well, because
Right.
and then I'm good at problem solving.
Right,
I'm good at
right.
conflict resolution,
Yeah.
and so I took that, and I a lot of that I gained from
From your
the way
your
that
own
I grew
experience.
up.
Sure.
And I would take that, and I believe in service over self.
Sure.
I could have made a lot more money and been a lot more
Oh,
successful had I
absolutely.
not chose
Yeah.
public safety, but I
Yeah.
believe in service over
Sure.
self, and that to me is very healing to just go help
This
people.
is what I
leave,
do.
leave people a little bit better
Then you found
than you found them to the
Yeah.
best of your ability.
Yeah.
And if I had not had a job that was so demanding and that I had to pay attention and focus on, if I'd had too much idle time, I don't think
You
that
don't know
would-
where you-
I don't think that would have been good.
It wouldn't have been good for
I
you.
don't think it would have been good.
So as you're going through your job, I'm sure you see, and you got to know a lot of people. So you see people that either they are widowed or they're single, they're living alone. Decatur is only 9 miles from Atlanta. So there's a lot of things that can come your way, even though, you may have the 4 square mile pristine little area, but not always. I mean, you never know. I'm sure that you could tell stories, you don't have to, but that you ran into because, you got proximity to a lot of other things that are going on. But what kind of things were you hearing from your community? Like, what kind of things did they want?
Well, wherever you go, people want a sense of security,
Right.
and everybody's version of that is different.
Mm-hmm.
And some people want to live in a gated community because
Yeah.
then they feel like people can't get in, and
Yeah.
buildings that have
Right.
security before you get in. Wherever you go, if there's other people,
Yeah.
there's going to be crime, and
Right.
crime will come.
Right.
People who are looking to be, commit crimes come to where there's going to be people that they can commit them against, whether that's theft or
Mm-hmm.
against a person.
Well,
So
yeah.
one of the dangers that I saw, or the issues that I saw in Decatur, is that we're connected to Atlanta, but we are this
It's a,
small,
and then there's a bigger metro.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's this small town vibe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very
Lovely.
unique, yes, idyllic little city, and people would have this very false sense of security
Mm-hmm.
of
I'm-
nothing's going to happen
I'm
here.
good because I'm here.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen here. And just because we would have maybe one murder every
Mhm.
couple of years, and
Mhm.
it's usually almost always people that
Mhm.
know each other,
Right.
the areas around you,
Mm-hmm.
have a much
Oh,
different,
much
a
higher.
much different reality. And so then when something did happen,
Mm-hmm.
people were just devastated because they thought, I don't know if it's just some sort of mental emotional piece, like there's a moat or a gate around the city.
You want it to be. Yeah.
Right, and you want it to be. And so when reality creeps in,
Mhm.
it's even harder for someone who had no idea, had never given it any
So
thought.
that's when you started that program.
So I started getting a lot of requests after I had been in the detectives division for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been a detective, then I became a supervisor, and they put me back over the detectives division,
Mm-hmm.
and I did that for several years. And I was it was just over 10 years. And basically I got called when something bad happened.
Right. Of course.
Nobody calls me
Mhm.
because they're having a good day. I'm getting
Right,
called in
right.
the middle of the night because somebody got shot or somebody got broken into or robbed or things like that. And it's just so based in negativity. I was getting a little burned out.
Right.
And my chief knew that, and he also knew that, before I was a detective,
Mm-hmm.
I was the downtown business district officer, where I stopped and talked to
Yeah.
everybody and all the business owners, and I'm really super social.
So you're connected. Yeah.
Well, and my resting pulse is kind of
People.
happy, and
Yeah.
so he could see it wearing on me, and he wanted a position where that he had somebody that was connected to the community all the time, and then also to deal with media and social media.
Oh boy, that's a big job.
Social media was hitting, and
Yeah.
people wanted to know what's
They
going on.
want to know what's going on
all the time.
and you better tell them something or they're going to make it up.
Right. Somebody will make it up.
Yeah.
And so he put me in that role, and it just breathed new life into me.
Yeah.
But a lot of what I did was try to figure out what the community wanted rather than me or us deciding what they wanted.
And
Something that kept rising to the top was women's self-defense.
yeah,
And that
really took off.
took off. And that was something that we got requests for all the time, because a lot of the options out there
Yeah.
were martial arts
Mm-hmm.
locations where you had to join and go constantly. And we had women in their 60s and 70s.
And they went.
Well, they were like, I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that,
But
but
I
want
want to feel confident that if something ever happened, that I know what to do so that I don't freeze.
So what would you tell, because we're going to run out of time shortly, but what would you tell people that are thinking, I need something like that? What should they go to their police department? Should they go to their county commission? What would you suggest?
So the first place to start would be like your local police or sheriff's department.
Okay.
Like Flagler County, I looked it up. Flagler County Sheriff's Office offers free self-defense classes. They
Oh,
offer
really?
things for seniors. They talk
See, I didn't know
about
that.
it.
And I live here.
You're right. And then the program I taught was called RAD, R-A-D. It stands for Rape, Aggression, Defense. That's a national program. And if you go to their website, you can look up by
Right.
your state, click on your state, and it lists all the
Places they're offering it.
places that offer it.
Yeah.
And it's mostly police departments, but it's also colleges
Right.
and rec centers.
Right.
And
Things
and
happen
things
everywhere.
Right. And it's about feeling confident that you have something, you know what to do. So then it's
Yeah.
not so scary if you
Well-
think about it in advance.
Well, because you don't know how you're going to react
Right.
in any situation.
Right.
Just like, we're talking about when things happen to you or things right now happening to me in my setting and family. You don't know because you've never done it before.
Right. And
So
that
just
makes it
having
even
that
scarier.
experience, if you will,
Yes.
not great, but okay, that can help you to be stronger.
Well, that empowerment, and you
Yeah.
don't have to sit and worry and feel fearful all the time.
Wow, you have been a wonderful. I could have you here doing this for like another 5 hours.
Pick a topic.
You are just a fountain of information. I want to thank you for taking the time to come on.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. And you're such a good friend, and you've been such a great person, and I give you a lot of credit for all you've done in your life. So
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
I'm
So we're gonna sign off on this one, and I just so much information. I could talk to her for a long, long time, but I want to say to everybody, hang in there, please. Try to explore some of these things. Look up RAD. Go to maybe your police department and see what they're offering. But remember that there is beauty for ashes, and you're going through something, and you're going through it in your own way, but God is close to the brokenhearted. And we're going to come back next time and try to talk about some more things that kind of help you shift your mindset from what you're sitting into, where you need to be next. So thanks to Jennifer. And I want to thank Flagler Voice for hosting us as usual. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify and all the major Facebook and all the major outlets. So please watch for us and go back and look at the last episodes of The Widow Speaks. Bye.
Things are truly better with us.
Goes fast, doesn't it?
yeah.
You're